Welcome to the live dev Q&A from FlightFactor. My name is Alessio, also known as Turtle in this server. Um, I personally now work for FlightFactor in
Interesting.
the
So
support
let
area.
me play with
I'm
it.
also one of the
Changed headsets and
and
everything.
today the
but then I
FlightFactor CEO and founder Ramses is joining us. Questions you guys send us. How's it going, Ramses?
Um, yeah, it's fine. So people are writing about music. I don't hear any music. Do you hear music?
Um, there should be music that you can turn off. I'm not sure what the this feature, but
Discord is
there
too complicated.
yeah, there should be a feature to turn off the music. Um,
Okay, so apparently it's something in.
yeah, they
Okay.
can. Yeah. All right. Shall we just start with the first question?
Yes, I'm ready.
Yes,
I
you're
know
ready. Great.
people probably want to know
Well,
stuff, so
yeah. Well, the first
what
question is
about it?
is actually just the most asked question and the most liked question, and that is VNAV when. So mostly like how is 7 progressing? Do you know anything about VNAV? How that's progressing?
Yes, I know how things are progressing. I can't give you an exact date because I mean, if I had it, I would have already published it. Dennis is the one working on VNAV. So I did, my part where I could help him. I did some math, and basically he's now programming the C++ side of it. He should be nearing completion. It should be really soon. Basically, my plan is as soon as it works in any usable way, I would ship it and actually ship it as a public because I think we have done quite a bit in the alpha anyway, and the product is very, very, very ready for public release. Might not even be better release, but I guess Dennis wants it to work well because he's, the way he thinks about the features is different the way I do. So, I mean, it's the most wanted, the most needed, and basically the only feature required for a public release, as we promised. So,
Yeah, that's
as
very
soon
good
as we
news.
have it, as soon as we have it, we are. Literally, the guy is programming it, and whatever others can do to help him. But in the end, he has to do it because it's his part, and two people can't program the same piece of code.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All right.
that's basically the answer.
Yeah, we saw in the forum you already said that there are a lot of calculations going on with VNAV, and that they have to be very accurate. Is that is a lot of the work going to uh, refining the VNAV and how it works, that it's really accurate?
Um. So the way we, as you probably all know, we basically started this everything in this plane. We started from scratch, and we said, okay, we are going to kind of throw away the old stuff, the algorithms that we used, and we'll write the correct ones, the most proper ones. So the same has to do with all those calculations in VNAV. We did have VNAV in the old 777 and 5767, all of those products, but we're not using that code. We are rewriting it. We are writing it from scratch, making it more correct, which means basically the profile has to be correct for every speed, and we have our own engine model now. So it's not a question of tuning it now to work correctly. It's a question of just kind of assembling everything together, because VNAV is basically two things: it's calculating the profile, predicting how the airplane will fly, and then actually flying the airplane using the autopilot. Um, so the calculation part in terms of math, that was stuff that I did, and writing the actual code, because this is a C++ part, which I don't do, that's Dennis.
Yep. Yep. Very clear. Thank you. Let's move on to the next question. I know this question has been answered in a previous Q&A, but for continuing, have the devs ever considered a 747 series aircraft?
Um, well, that depends on what you mean by considered. So obviously, a 747-8 fares a lot with a 777.
Yeah,
So in terms of understanding how the systems work, it's, I guess, yes, I've personally considered this, but I don't have in my head at the moment a plan for making a 7.4. I mean, logically, at some point, it is something we want to do, I guess, but it's not something on the horizon at the moment because we have other plans that we need to complete. And the bar that we set with the 777 is a little bit higher than I guess I would want to, because now we have to work at this level all the time, and that takes much more time than actually we thought.
yeah, very understandable. Also, I know there's a different question relating to that, what you said. Uh, I assume that the plan is in the near future, after release of 777, 787, and maybe the A350 V2, to also enhance the 757 and the 767. Is this something that is planned to also increase to the same realism depth as the current
Yes,
777 V2?
yes. So I can't give you the exact plan, though we have it. But the next reincarnation of the 7576 will be somewhere in ballpark the same level as the 777 now. So we'll definitely everything we make from this point on in terms of Boeing will be using this technology. So optimized to the same level and using the same architecture because we invested more than 3 years basically in building this architecture. And I'm quite happy with it. I think it has only one flaw which we'll solve in the future, but it definitely has to be used to make more models. And the 5767 will have an extra incarnation and it will be closer to this one. We need to see when we have the public release, we need to see which features people like and use and which features people don't, because basically everything that I at least wanted in the last 20 years is now in this 777. We have everything. We have voice control. We have so much stuff, and I'm not sure whether every feature is usable. Maybe some
Yeah,
things I just wanted, but people won't really use it. So I can't say, okay, we'll do everything. You can open the wing up now in the 777. You can open the little doors in the wing and look inside. Now that took our 3D developers quite some time. I think the guy who did the external model, he's here, and he's cross with me for years for making him do that. Again, it's just a small example. I'm not sure whether people really need that and really enjoy that. So things that people will report as unimportant probably won't make it into next models, but I guess most stuff will. So the short answer is yes.
all right. Thank you for that answer. Um, this you might not be able to say anything about this, but do you know anything about the order of the variants of the 777 V2? Is that already something you can share with us, or is it still
Um,
classified?
no, well, actually, I don't. So in terms of 3D modeling, we have done 90% of the work at the same time. So we actually have
Alright.
them. Um, in terms of things like levers, I think yeah, if I'm not mistaken, we even drew the levers for for the 300, for example, and cargo. Um, so in terms of engines, I can tell you the next engine will be Pratt& Whitney. We've just discussed
All
it
right.
today and chose it. Um, yeah. So, and in terms of whether it's a 300, the freighter, or the LR, we can actually have a poll and ask people what they want next, because it doesn't really matter for us, I guess.
That would be
Um,
amazing.
we can have audience participation in this. I don't mind, and whatever people choose, as long as it's not 50-50, we can do.
All right. That's pretty cool to include the audience in that. Um, that might be something for later to include in the Discord polls channel, as we did with the colors of the 777V2, which were pretty split decisions.
Um,
Um,
yeah, I mean, a lot of things, in terms of colors and sounds and others, like wing flex. For years, we get these. Oh, I don't like wing flex. It's too much wing
yeah,
flex. Not enough wing flex. Things which are not objective, which I can't measure. And I'm a mathematician by training, so what I like is a table, and then I have my function, and I compare. And I post a lot those climbs and N1s, and I show, oh, you see, it's exactly correct. So in terms of these things, they are absolutely subjective.
yeah, definitely. We
So I don't mind people just telling me, okay, we like that better. Because okay, yeah,
yeah,
you see now
every
we have this. Everybody's writing freighter and 300, freighter and 300. Okay, so not LR. I got it. Not an LR.
all right. Let's continue. Um, It's been a few years since you've answered this question. Maybe something has changed. Will we get a 777X after it's certified?
Um, so the problem with the X, so yeah, obviously it's interesting,
Yeah,
and it shares the avionics with the 7.8. So logically, yeah, it's not a question of certification. I don't mind building something which is not certified. God knows I've flown enough things which were not certified. Um, but the question is the data. So, in terms of performance, for example, at the moment, we got the engine of the 777, the General Electric, we got it working up to 1% in every possible scenario I could think of. You can now climb with one engine and you'll be within like 1% of N1, I guess 3% of fuel burn, stuff like that. So in order to build the proper model, we need to have the data. And the problem is when the plane is new, so either Boeing has to give us the data, which I don't think they are going to do, at least not at the moment, or it has to be publicly available. Because I've created my own mathematical model for the engine, which is pretty tunable, but I need the data. So I don't see us building a plane for which data is not available. But as soon as it is, we'll kind of build it into the process. Uh, when we started the 777 version 2, I asked Artyom, who is the 3D designer for the exterior, I asked him to work with the thought in mind that an X should be somewhere in there. But at some point he said, no, it's too complicated. The 300, the freighter, I can keep that within kind of one big model, but the X has to be separate.
yeah,
So yeah, that's the answer. Not in the pipeline at the moment. When the data is available, I I guess I'll want to do it myself because it's cool. It's like the newest one.
yeah, that's clear. Yeah, it probably will be a while till the information is available. As I don't think Boeing is
Oh,
just gonna
somebody
say,
is asking whether I have used or where I have used calculus. It's funny. I have. Uh, Not linear algebra, I guess, but I have used the calculus. Yes, I've taken quite a few derivatives. Yes, continue, please.
yeah. Um, Let me see, where were we? There are a lot of the same questions where it's hard to keep up. Oh, yeah, here. When we return back to the topic of the engine variants, you just revealed that the Pratt and Whitney engine will be next. Um, a lot of people would like to know if this will be an extra package in like combined with a different variant, or that it will just be an update of the current model.
Um, so in terms of this, usually we have done engine variants as free updates for like all the models that we could stick it into. Because it was easy. I'll be honest. So I don't like charging people money for things which are easy to do, for things which don't really require a lot of effort. So it's kind of part of the deal. You guys buy the model, uh, but you know that it's for the next 4 years we'll still keep making it better. So engines were always kind of part of that. But making a freighter, for example, is more complicated. It requires actual work for, I don't know, 3 months maybe, or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's basically my justification for, okay, these are upgrades and these are updates. I want to say that that's not going to change. I think it shouldn't. Unless it really will become a lot of work, which I don't think will happen. I mean, I can be honest with you. The model I've written for the engine, the mathematical model, it's basically based on N1. So kind of the way it works is I know which N1 should the plane have at which stage, and then I can, based on the aerodynamic model, know how much thrust it should create at that N1, and then kind of everything follows from there. The Pratt & Whitney and Rolls-Royce engines are not N1 driven. They are driven by EPR, which is kind of a pressure ratio. Also, it's measured differently in both models. Rolls-Royce measures it in different places. So I still don't have in my mind the complete model how that is going to work. So I need to, sit down and think about it, how to use the same engine model but drive it with EPR.
Yeah.
So as soon as that is done, I guess it's a question of, just running the tests, and it's quite a bit of tests because it's, climbs and descents and all of that stuff. The stuff that I publish sometimes, showing in MATLAB how we climb and how the tables show that we should. Yeah. So the answer is it should be updates.
Great. I think a lot of people are pleased to hear about that. Also looking forward to that. The next question. We've talked a lot about the 777 V2, and a lot of people are wondering how is it going with the 787. Of course, a lot of systems are shared between the two models. Are there certain features which are completely different and still have to be worked on, or is it mostly the same?
Well, the 7.8 is an interesting thing. I mean, the real one. So on one side, Boeing wanted to certify it as a common type rating. So in Europe, for example, when you get a 777 type rating, you actually can fly a 7.8. It's in your license, like 777/78.
Yeah.
But the truth is that inside, under the hood, it's a completely different plane. It's all electric. It has a lot of differences. So in terms of writing the code, the actual systems, so hydraulics, pneumatics, some of which don't exist in 787 at all, electrical, they're kind of different. So those have to actually be written still. On the other hand, out of the 3 years, so I keep saying 3 years because we announced the 777 3 years ago, but obviously in the course of those 3 years, we work on the older models, explain 12 updates, a lot of other stuff. But from the whatever actual time we spent on the 777, I guess about 60% we spent on building the architecture and building the features which are in common, I guess, for every other airplane. So things like the EFB, for example, which is, I don't know, has so much stuff in it. That's kind of common,
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are a lot of features which are common in terms of programming, but not so much if you look at the actual airplane. Even the FMS is not the same, though it would kind of feel like it should be. There are differences, and the 787 has some things which the 777 doesn't. in terms of the inertial system is kind of different. Yeah, so those things still have to be done. In terms of 3D, I think I would say we're kind of in terms of 3D, I think we're kind of done or almost. So a few guys are working on the 7.8 now, but mostly we are focused on just shipping the 777. And X-Plane is throwing us some curveballs, which are good because now we have this. I think we haven't published the new 12.1 screenshots with the decals, but yeah, so most of us are dealing with that. But I would say that the 7.8 globally is maybe 50% or 60% complete in terms of this.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense if still a lot of systems are different. We will most likely see that after the variants of the 777 have released, correct?
No,
All
no.
right.
So in terms of the variants of the 777, it's um, some systems are different between 777s, between the 300 and 200, for example. There are some differences, uh, but it's mostly the stuff around the airplane. Uh, so for, I mean, um, it's the weight and balance, it's the way you place stuff in it, it's the way you calculate the dynamics. The engines are different. It's still GE, so it's kind of easy because it's the same N1 driven engine, but you still have to run through all those tests. Um, for the freighter, uh, again, it's mostly 3D stuff. Some systems are different, but then we have to come up with all the stuff that the cargo itself, because we have gone into this weight and balance, and I'm not sure whether everybody knows it, but if you actually look in the cargo bays of the 777 now, you will see that we actually have cargo, and the cargo is correctly placed, just like you see it, and the calculation is exactly correct. If you see a suitcase somewhere, that suitcase is a point of mass and all of that. So all this stuff has to be done for the freighter, but all of this stuff is mostly two guys, I guess. So I have to do it. I have to program a lot of this stuff. Dennis, I guess, a little bit, but not too much because the FMS is the same. And the 3D guys, of course. 7.8 is a lot of work by other people who write different systems. So they'll be kind of intermingled. I don't have in my head a personal preference, but basically, as soon as this stuff is ready, it will ship. So if the 7.8 is ready at some point, and we are between whatever freighter and 300, then one of them waits, we ship the 7.8, and then we ship the next variant. It will not be okay, we have to finish the whole line of 777 before we start with the 7.8, or the other way around.
That's very good to hear. So that very nice to hear that there are different teams working on different stuff, and it's good to hear that it's working, especially during all the things that all the things that were going on. Next question is an interesting question. We know that Laminar is working on the new radar. Um, what does this mean for the 777 V2, and will features like ice windows and surfaces which change the icing level depending on the conditions? That was a
I didn't hear you fully because you were, maybe my internet cuts out, or yours. Could you repeat?
yes, of
Yes, so
course.
it's yours. You are cutting out a bit. Would you repeat that, please? Laminar is working on what?
We know about the Laminar weather radar. What would this mean for the 777 V2, and will it implement features such as ice windows and surfaces?
Okay, I heard the question. I'm not sure how kind of to connect the radar with the ice. So icing is already there. So Austin created this very nice weather model, which we had to fix. We have to fix our stuff. So icing is an actual condition. You fly somewhere, you get icing, and it broke at some point. We fixed it. In terms of the weather radar, so next week, or I guess this week, whatever, Sunday, um, I hope that Yuri will get our radar in the 777. So, but that's still the old radar. So it's the same radar that we had in the 5767 because we don't have the API for the new one yet. And I'm not sure whether it's in next plane 12.1 or not. But I already got some information from Laminar on how to use the new radar. So as soon as that's available, we'll put it in and we'll have a new radar. Now, Laminar has kind of done a lot of work and they are generating a radar return picture, which is tilt based and very nice. So we could kind of use it out of the box. The problem is that it doesn't look like a Boeing.
Oh yeah.
So we have to dismantle it, create a correct Boeing picture, redraw it, and then actually I need to read whether the 200 has this feature or not. But some Boeings have this ability to predict whether there is basically a radar return hidden behind the return that you see. So we kind of have to decide what to do with that because I don't think that Laminar's radar has that. So we might work on that a bit to actually have it. So it kind of the plane tells you in this direction. I'm not sure. Maybe there is another return there.
All right, that's clear. Um, also questions about this in chat and also in the channel. What's exactly going on with A320? Is we know that there's a update coming. Is there something that we could know about this, or what's exactly
Um,
going on?
well, I don't really want to discuss the 320 in this Q&A. So yes, there is going to be an update. Some features, as you probably know, we have done quite a bit of work with the A320 and the professional market for real size sims,
Yep.
like big ones and even certification in terms of FNTP. And features from there will migrate back, and there is work being done on 3D mode. So those things in the near future they should be kind of ported back, and there will be a big update with this stuff. Generally, that's what I can tell you about the trade.
Okay. Thank you for answering that. A lot of questions again the same. This one is pretty funny. What's your favorite feature / Easter egg on this 777 V2?
I only heard Easter egg, and you cut
Oh,
out before.
what's your favorite feature or Easter egg on the 777 V2?
Uh, well, I'm not sure how many people in the Q&A are owners of the 777 now and are part of the Alpha program and who are not. So there are quite a few Easter eggs. Some are, you might consider them Easter eggs, might not. I want you guys to find them. Like, I don't want to. There are some 3D, there's some sound, there's some other stuff that you can get. I don't want to reveal everything. So I can tell you that not all of them have been found because there is like a little chat in the alpha about the Easter eggs, which I think I started just to see, who finds what.
Yeah.
And yes, of course, yeah, I like Star Trek. Yes, you have guessed that correctly. So you have quite a few Star Trek Easter eggs in the plane, including the Klingon. Some people. Yeah, actually, I can tell you what my favorite. I mean, this has been discovered, obviously. My favorite one is the row numbers. And that's because it wasn't meant as an Easter egg, it was meant as a solution to a problem. So, the plane is reconfigurable.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not easy to do with in 3D because you have to play around with all those objects and they have to match and the shadows. It's a nightmare for the 3D guys, and they really, really didn't want to do that. I was, forcing them to do this, and at some point, one of them said, "Okay, fine, it works. We have these, whatever, 3, 4 types of chairs moving around. But what the hell do we do with the roll numbers? Because the roll numbers have to kind of be connected to the chairs, not to the overhead bins." And I said, "Okay, I don't know what to do." And then I thought, "Okay, let's put Klingon characters there," and it kind of works.
Yeah, to everyone who hasn't seen that yet, go check it out. The next question, what's the roadmap for the CP DLC slash A cards? Because we know that it's coming in the triple CFN V2. What's the thing you're waiting for?
Um, well, the CPDLC itself works. So, at the moment we can connect to the network, we can send messages, we can receive messages. But the 777 has a lot of local features that have to do with the comm system, which is not the radio comm system, the communication system in the MFD. For example, you can get a flight plan with where you have speeds and altitudes that you can send somewhere. Well, you can send points to the FMC. You can send abbreviated flight plans. You can get clearances which will change color in the comm system on the screen when you put them in the MCP. Though there are a lot of those things which have to be carefully programmed, and they have to work correctly, because when you have such a huge system, you get a lot of bugs. So that's the stage. Actually, it kind of works, but we are tuning all these little features. Also, we're still deciding what to do with the non-CPDLC parts of ACAR. So some things we have already done, like weather, for example. But there are like 4 systems that people can connect to, and some information comes from one and some from the other. It's just to give you an idea. I think it's about 60 pages of the comm system which are programmed and are actually working. So it's basically as big as the AFB. Different things you can send, receive, transfer from one place to the other, and so forth. So it's kind of nearly completion. I'm not the one working on it. I'm just kind of helping, but yeah. So that's the roadmap. I'm not sure whether that will be ready for the public release, because the public release basically depends on VNAV now. As soon as we have VNAV, we ship it. And if we have it by then, it goes in. If we don't, it won't, but it won't be long anyway, because it's, yeah.
Yeah, great to hear that it's progressing well. Another question. Can we get a standalone pushback plugin that acts like the one in the 777 V2?
Yes, you can. You can. It's so funny. When I made that pushback, everybody, like each person that I showed it to, including Philip, were making fun of me, saying this is rubbish. This is just for show. This is, something you will play with once. And then I started getting requests. Oh, can we get that as a plugin? So yes, you can get that as a plugin. I see no problem. We just need to kind of separate from the plane. So I don't. Again, it's not that straightforward, because I don't want you to have to program it. Because it has to know where the wheels are and has to know where everything is. So I need to come up with a way to read the ACA file to get some stuff from your aircraft. The stuff that for the 777, we just programmed it in because we know it. Let us ship the final version, or at least the public version, and then either I assign somebody to do it or I do it myself, because that was my whim. I programmed it and everybody was making fun of me. So yeah, I'll do that. If you want that, I'll do that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
funny to hear. Yeah.
and if you want more features to, yeah. By the way, again, I'm not sure whether everybody knows. It's not an Easter egg. You can crush the plane with the thing, and you can
Really?
only crush the
I haven't seen that yet.
yes. Oh, really? Yeah, you can crash the plane. So if you actually drive the truck into one of the gears, the plane will crumple and the gear will break. So for that to work on any airplane, that's a problem because we had to program the 3D for the wheels to shutter and the gear to brake. So that we obviously can't do for a third party, but. Yeah, we kind of have to understand, for example, which parts of the plane we can crush into,
Yeah.
because again, this is something I just hard coded, where the gears are. And for a third party, we would have to read the ACF, understand where the gears are, create like bounding boxes, get that data into the code. So it sounds easy because it works. So let's just create a standalone plugin, but then you have to think about all those small things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll do it.
Anyway, that's very good to hear. I think a lot of people are pleased with that. The next question is, we haven't talked a lot about the A350 V2. We've heard about the collaboration with Tolis. Is it already known what parts FlightFactor will be doing and what parts are assigned to Tolis?
Yes,
All right.
that's the answer. Yes.
All right.
um, I'm not sure I want to go into it. I mean, it's kind of obvious, Tolis is basically the Airbus guy.
Yeah.
So the Airbus parts will be Tolis. We'll do the 3D, the sounds, the AOS, the Airbus A320 version of the MFD with all those pages. Obviously, the all the click system, VR interaction. Whether we will have things like voice control, I'm not sure because I'm not sure how good it is anyway. I mean, we've implemented the voice control in the 777, but we haven't really advertised and showed how to use it. So people, I don't think they're using it because of that, or maybe it doesn't work well. So we have to investigate. It took quite a bit of effort to do that, especially on the Mac because the Mac doesn't have a built-in working voice recognition software.
Hmm.
Um, So if that thing is useful, probably we'll implement it over there. Again, things like the pushback track, for example, if people like it, we can do that. Yeah, so that's kind of the answer. The 3D, so on our part, we have assigned one 3D designer to work on this A350 specifically, and he's progressing nicely. Um, I'll post on Twitter at some point. We have some pictures of 3D stuff being done. We are aiming for the same detail level as a 777, maybe a little bit less because we have gone overboard at some places. But yeah, the aim is to have it approximately the same detail.
All right. Looking forward to seeing some screenshots or screenshots of that. The
I see
next
that
question.
people. I see. I'm sorry. I see that people are actually discussing the voice control. So it's already there. It's so the stuff that the people are writing about saying flaps 5, it's already there and it's in the manual. And that's one thing I see a lot of questions kind of with my one eye here in the chat. A lot of things which you guys are asking are written in the manual. I know it's horrible to read manuals. I don't like it either. I try to assemble stuff myself, but um, if you actually read the manual, you will find a lot of features which you are asking for. They are already there.
Yeah, a lot of things can be found in the menu. On to the next question. Will we get another 7675 update for XP12, or do we have to wait for the next generation?
Um, I'm not sure. I think so. Okay, you will definitely see one when Austin breaks stuff like the dynamics. I heard from him that 12.2 will have new features in aerodynamics, which means that we'll have to fix stuff. Um, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, the new radar should make it there because it's X-Plane 12 feature. In terms of making more 767 variants in current generation, I don't think so. And I don't think you want that because there's one variant missing basically. 767 in real life has this the new cargo conversions which they are doing right now, which basically means take the screens from the 7.8, stick them in the 7.6. I don't think we'll do that in the current generation because it will. I mean, it's just. I guess it's too old. There are too many things that I want to fix. So yeah.
Another interesting question here. How has the private alpha process impacted your viewpoint on testing, and how will it affect the release plans of future add-ons?
I liked it very much. I liked the way the alpha worked very much. I mean, my hope was that it would be shorter, um, but people have clearly said what they consider a public beta release and what they
Yeah,
consider less than beta. So I went with the flow. In, to my taste, I would release it to the public already, but you guys, as a community, said no. We think that these things should be in, so they will be. But generally, I like this community alpha much more than private because we found a lot of stuff, and we have some people. I don't know active how many active users are actually really testing it, but I can say that there are like 10 people who are really professional, who know the airplane, have the time and the will to invest, and then there's like 100 people who are really good and they give very good feedback, and then it's like I don't know 70% more which give nice feedback, so that you have these levels, and yeah, and we have worked very closely with some guys, some alpha buyers, I guess, and testers or whatever we call them. And I think we'll go like we have done this with the A320 5 years ago, and we did it now. And I think all the future releases will be like that because it's very good. People who don't feel like testing or being test subjects, they don't participate. And people who do, they really invest the time because they've been kind of part of the club. So it's been a nice experience, and we are not okay. We are less overwhelmed with bug reports because the first 2 weeks it was crashes here and there because so many features, so much new code.
yeah. Thank you for your answer. A bit more specific question. I've seen it a few times already on the Discord and also on the forum. This is mostly something to do with reflections. When can we change the amount of reflections slash tint on the windshield of 777V2? I'm not exactly
Um,
sure why, but I've
I know
seen a lot
why.
of reports.
Yeah. So here's my take on it. I generally don't mind, as you might have guessed, I don't mind more options. There are like I don't know 200 options now in the airplane. I don't mind it. Dennis, for example, thinks that too many options are confusing. I don't think so. It's fine. Um, that's why we had a wing flex option before, when people were complaining.
Yeah,
The thing is, so okay, if people really want it, we'll make an option. So there are like two types of reflections. There are the reflections on the windows, which are static drawing. Okay, yeah. So there's a static drawing dynamically drawn. So when you move your head, the picture moves, but the picture itself is a render. So it's not changing. That's because that's the only way we could do it. And those we can probably give you an option to kind of change their opacity. I don't want you to disable them completely for one reason. Because it's part of the procedure. So, for example, if I fly at night in darkness, and if I turn on the lights in the cockpit, the reflections become so opaque that I can't see outside. That's why the Boeing procedure says before you taxi, you go flaps and then you go, well, I'm showing with my finger now. On the overhead, there is a button to turn off all the big lights.
Yeah.
And that is there because you get this opaque reflections of the windows. So I kind of wanted there as a thing because it's part of the procedure. It's not just for fun. Um, but I get that some people find them kind of too much. So we might have an option which makes them less strong or something like that. The other type of reflections that we have are the reflections in the screens. I don't think people are talking about those. Those are actually dynamic. Those, if you look into them, and again, it's a feature that I've worked on personally a lot, and I love it. And everybody else is making fun of me and says it's just okay, no one cares. But if you look in the screens, you will see the whole cockpit reflected with actually moving parts. And I think the bottom, the number 4 screen, actually reflects the data from number 3 because you can see one screen in another. So I don't think people are talking about those. For
No, I don't think so.
those, I don't have a way to make options because they are created in a different way.
Yeah, that's pretty clear. I think a lot of people do want the option to change the reflection. But personally, I haven't had any issues with it. Well, this is about 777V2. Do you plan to integrate the premium economy configuration?
Um,
This is, of
I don't
course,
know.
more
You
3D
you
item.
think? Well, no, that's the thing. It's not a 3D item. So for the 3D guys, making the chairs is not a problem. But as I explained, there is a big issue with. I mean, you have to do three things. You have to draw the chairs, which is okay. We can draw more chairs. Um, then you have to program the mathematics because it's not okay. I wouldn't say it's complicated, but it's not trivial. When you change the number of rows, kind of depending on where they are and the size of the row, you replace one row with sometimes one row of a different type, sometimes two, and that's kind of a hassle. So it takes time to really sit down and calculate it and make the tables because in the beginning I tried making functions which kind of depended on the site, but that didn't work, so I just switched to tables. But then the big deal is how to match um, the cabin to the chairs so it doesn't look wrong. Uh, I don't know. I guess if at some point, I don't know. So it's not that difficult, but then it's time that might be spent differently and with more. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't.
It might be something to consider eventually. Another
Also,
question about shared flight. It is originally released shared flight. They already said that they've been working together with FlightFactor on the
yes.
777-2. Can you give us more information about that?
Well, yes and no. So the designer of Share Flight is in contact with us, and he has been helping us with some features for the plan, actually. Um, and the plan was that when he releases the product, we'll work close with him to make it work, and we will. But we haven't returned to the question. The thing is that this requires my input and Dennis's input, and I don't want Dennis doing anything. I don't want him to read this chat. I just want him to finish enough because there is nothing I can help with. So let us get let us push out the public release and then we can but definitely that's planned to have shared flight.
That's great to hear. Of course, it has to be fully released first.
Yes. So I'm not sure whether what do you think, but I mean I see in the chat a lot of questions. Do you want me to go through some of them and just read and answer? Because also your microphone is cutting out or your internet, so I could do that. And if you want to, I'm not sure what people want. So
Well,
people,
we
what do you want? Steam
we
Brief
read some
integration.
questions in
That's
the
good.
chat.
It's already there. Steam Brief has been integrated very thoroughly, and there are a lot of features. You look at the presentations, look at the manual. We have a lot of stuff. Okay, XP72 wants me to take the chat question. Okay. Rain effect on cabin windows. Somebody is working on that. To tell you the truth, I don't remember who, but I think Alex is working on it. All right. So I'll just a little bit scroll. Chat questions. Um, okay. I would rather see system accuracy. Okay. So yeah, that kind of was my point. We can't work all the time on the same thing, and one of the things which have not been completed in the 777 is the AMM. Sorry, is the MEL. So we have the MEL feature, but it's I don't know 20% done. So a lot of items are not connected. Now some items are not connected. Some items are not programmed to a level deep enough to have them. And that's one of the things that at some point I want to take, I don't know, 4 weeks and not do anything but program that. Because those are little things in every system which you go and add. And yeah, and then you get the accuracy. So a lot of people have written about sunshades on the front windows. Could anybody
It,
explain to me what that would do?
well, currently there are no sunshades on the front two windows, cockpit windows. I think I don't know who said that on the forum, but they said that in the current version you couldn't work with the transparency in Explain.
No, but my question is, okay, so the real plane doesn't have any sunshades on the front windows. On the other hand, as a pilot, I can tell you that most of the time when we fly like big cross-country flights on bigger airplanes, we stick stuff there and we don't see anything outside basically because it's the sun is just too hot and too much. So we could do something like that. Um, I'm not sure. I need to, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, autosave. XP72. Yes, it's not hard. This is the one thing I can do in 30 minutes. And I will do it. The problem is it's going to be painful to use. Why? Because the saving process takes time. Now, when you push the save button, you don't care. It takes whatever, half a second, or you have a stutter when you push the button. It's okay because you have initiated it. So you probably don't even see it because you pushed it. You kind of expect it. When it will happen automatically every 5 minutes or something, you will see the sim stop for whatever, and that whatever, it doesn't matter how small it is, you will still see it. So I think it's going to be very painful for the user, even if he knows consciously that he's chosen the option. But I will do that, and if you want to use it, you can use it. What will be the resolution of the 777 V2? I'm not sure what that means. The resolution. So the plane has
Mm,
16. I think the
Textures.
exterior is. Sorry.
I think they might mean the textures, but
Yes, of course
check.
they mean the textures, but I'm not sure what exactly. So the plane has, I think, 16 4K textures for outside and 8 or something for the inside, something like that. I have not calculated the total resolution if you put that plane on, like a 2D canvas and calculate. Most are 4K, but the question is how many you use. For the interior, so the cockpit, I think it's 8 4K textures at the moment. And the way we decided that we calculated the amount of memory needed to store all the textures, and we just made a cut at some point and said, okay, we want you to be able to use the plane if you have that much memory. So I don't remember the exact numbers, but that was the idea, that our user should have at least this much memory, and so we can have this amount of 4K textures. Also, with the new decals, you don't need a lot of, well, okay, you don't need that much texture. You can do stuff with decals, and you will see that in the current version. Will we see live loading? What is live loading? I've seen this question a couple of times. What's live loading?
Live loading is that when you actually see the cargo being loaded into the aircraft, like seeing the pallets
Okay.
being moved in.
Okay, moved. No, probably. Again, it's one of those features like the chairs that requires, I don't know how much work, and then, okay, really? That's what you want? The problem is that we don't have pixel animation, we don't have, X-Plane doesn't allow us to kind of morph things. So it still has to be um, per frame, objects moving per frame. We kind of did a good job with the people outside, I think, at least. If you look at them, they, at least from far, they look like they're smoothly moving. So we kind of can do it. So at the moment, you have kind of life. If you look at the cargo, it appears at the correct points in time in correct places. But actually moving it on belts and so forth, I don't know. I don't have the energy. I mean, I would rather work on the engine because there are still things in the engine which are coming from Austin, and I want to change that. So, yeah, basically what Ini builds did. Animation, just keep the last. Okay, yeah, maybe if we have somebody that I can assign it to. Um, on one hand, it's not hard. It's just like the chairs. Passengers in the cabin. The A350 version 1 proved that passengers in the cabin is not worth doing because we can't get to the needed resolution, number of points in 3D, and smooth movement. So you will still have monsters in the cockpit, in the cabin. So if you want monsters in the cabin, we can do it. But if you want people, we can't. And I think people don't want monsters. Okay, I'm reading through it, but you can ask other stuff. Theme brief. So people
Yes,
asking about theme brief uplink. See, it's there. It's there. Everything is there. You can get the whole theme briefing with all the information in the cockpit on the EFB, and you even have an electronic electronic log where every hour we have to log the fuel used and time passing the point. You can enter that in the EFB, so it's all there.
Yeah, they're saying they mean uplink, so from the EFB to the FMC, that you can directly load in the flight plan.
The problem is, okay, so generally about the EFB. So we have chosen to the EFB rather than a standalone tablet because we wanted, kind of the idea was we do the Boeing. We do as close as possible to the real Boeing. The interface of the EFB is not the prettiest in the world, but it's authentic. That's what Boeing did. And the truth is that people have, like real companies have foregone the EFB lately, mostly because when you have a fleet of airplanes, if they're different, it's easier to use the same apps on a iPad, which is cheap now and available, rather than using EFBs in different airplanes. But this was our choice because we want to be as close to the real plane as possible. So as far as I know, you cannot transfer a flight plan from from the EFB to the FMC. You can do it from AHARS, get it into the com system, and then to the FMC. But from my perspective, I don't see a big problem doing it. So we can actually do that. And as soon as Dennis has some free time from VNav and stuff like that, because the FMC is his domain, we'll probably do it. I know it's very useful because I fly airplanes myself, and when I need to enter 25 points, it's much easier to do via an uplink, Garmin or Gateway with Honeywell or whatever. So yeah.
Great. Any burning questions in the chat?
Sorry, say again, please.
I was just asking if there are any questions in the chat.
Yes, I'm looking through. So yes, the charts are there. We just need to ship them. Charts are there. Yes, I've posted. And some people have asked about the ability to log into those systems by not entering the passwords directly into the EFB. And yes, that's possible. Just like in the 7.5, you can do it via website.
Yeah.
737 MAX. Do you know what I need to do with 737 MAX? Well, I'm asking you. Well, I can ask everybody. So, what do you think I need? What do you think I need to do a 737 MAX? Let's see if you get it. Yes, correct. Absolutely. Now, what motivation I have? I need the type rating. That's true.
Maybe Dan wants to get it.
Dennis, well, to get Dennis a type rating, we need to get Dennis a private pilot license first. And I don't know. He's kind of. I offered this a couple of years ago.
I think
because
you
I'm
said
a
that in the last stream that you were going to teach him.
Yes, the problem. Well, as you probably know, the current situation over the last 3 years have impacted us very much because we are kind of between all these countries. I mean, we are right there. So technically, I don't think it's easy at the moment for me to teach Dennis. I would. I mean, I'm a flight instructor, and I actually work as a flight instructor sometimes. I have, I don't know, 3 students, whatever, that I work with. Actually, I have some students in Europe and some students in the States, so we could do that, but he requires visas and permissions now, and it's so complicated. But I would love to do it. I would love to do that. Well, I'm not sure who knows the whole story, but Philip was my flight instructor for commercial and instrument. So he became a pilot a little bit earlier than me, and he became a flight instructor before me, and then he was my flight instructor for commercial. And that was a lot of fun. So I wish that I could do that for Dennis and teach him how to fly. But at the moment it's not easy with the political situation and all of that. But yes, I would love to get a 737 type rating, especially on the MAX, and that is something that is in kind of running around in my head, but it's too early.
Something to keep in mind for later. Some more questions. Information professional version. I think just our email, right?
Sorry, I heard email right, but the first part was gone.
Keeps cutting out. For the A320 professional version, how can they get information?
So what is professional? What do you mean? Do you mean commercial version
Yeah, the
for
commercial
the?
version.
Yeah, write us an email if you want that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we have a couple of kind of customers that we are working with, and each one wants something else. It's not that market is weird. Respawn only some people can. I'm just looking through missing screws as well. Yeah, you have missing screws. Is there any way to get one-to-one business class configuration? Okay, more chairs. I don't know. I mean, maybe you can Turtle. Maybe you can create like a forum thingy somewhere where people can post their wishes for non-essential features. Let's call it like that, with the chairs and the moving whatever boxes.
Yeah, we can do
I
that.
can, yeah, and then we can look at it and we'll just assign some time and say, okay, now we have time for this stuff. Let's make something. Because if I only concentrate on the essentials, then we'll never get to this. And apparently, it's important for people. But then maybe we have like one place where this all this stuff is concentrated. Um, One thing I can promise is I am going to have some fun with the 3D guys when we are working on the stuff we put in the freighter. Already have a list of about 20 things I want that freighter to be able to haul, and you will like it. I, I have
That's
ideas. Could
definitely
the
we'll set up
could the
something.
charts be shipped tonight? They could if the guy who is doing the shipping. So now we have kind of separated, and we have a guy who is specifically his job is to create versions and ship them. So if he can get to it, then yes, it probably could be tonight, but I'm not sure. But I mean, it's a question of I don't know day or something. Hey guys, do we have anything that hasn't been asked? Um, yeah, variants I've discussed. Cargo remain visible all flight. Why not? Um, yeah. Vintage, would you like to build an X-plane if you don't have a human power limitation or worry about financing? Um, that's a nice question. I never thought about it.
The Sukhoi
Vintage.
jet, bring it back.
That's not vintage. I mean, they're making a new
Yeah, it's not
version
really
now
vintage.
with the
Yeah,
PD whatever 14 engine. Um, yeah, the Sukhoi. I mean, I wouldn't be able to build the Sukhoi at the moment at that level, and now I don't want to do it at different level. So, but vintage. I don't know. To tell you the truth, I don't know. 707. Yeah, I'm kind of a Boeing person, I guess. But I don't know a lot about 707. So yeah, I can't answer that. I'm not sure. Performance calculator. So yes, um, the performance calculator is working. We have done the part with takeoff, and it almost works. There are a couple of bugs, and we still need to do the part with landing. Now, the landing is easier because landing performance is more or less correct, so we can use just the Boeing data. So we have to do that. I don't know, a couple of weeks probably. I think I will work on it because we had the Kirill working on it, but I think I'll help him. We need to get the tables in. We need to fix a couple of things. The takeoff performance really works correctly because it's really built from the actual data, not from theoretical data. And it was really, really hard to do. I have to tell you, it was really not easy because calculating V2 for like kind of non-existent airplane, so it was, yeah, and it really works cool. Like you can shift the weight to get a different CG, and the CG will dictate a different V2 because V2 is limited by VMCA, and VMCA depends on CG. I'm not sure whether everybody understood the whole sequence, but yeah. Any issues with MGGPU crash? Okay. Do you know of any of the similarities between 787 and 777X avionics? As I was wondering, since it seems um it well again, I know as much as you do, but it seems like they're using the 787 avionics from what I've seen.
Yeah, we don't know a lot about it yet.
Yes, you can fly the V2 with 6 GB of RAM. So basically, if you have the 7.5 and you can turn on the modern avionics mode, which is more demanding, and you get acceptable frames, you can definitely use the 777 version 2. Will the A350 V2 have what's ons?
It's the moving map on the.
Yes, it will. I mean, we have it.
Yeah.
We have the AVS and we have it on the AMM up inside the EFB,
Yep.
so it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, sure. Sure. We still have to decide who does it, like, but yeah. V2 avionics bay model. Okay, avionics bay. So I'm not sure about the A350 V2, but I want the avionics bay of the 777 V2 because now it's like a non-existent thing. As you know, we have recorded the sounds from the rear airplane by actually going into the wings. Like the sounds that you hear from the pumps, from the hydraulic pumps, been recorded with a high-end microphone with a guy sitting inside the wing. We have nice recordings of the avionics bay as well, obviously. And you can crawl into places in that plane and so forth. So Artyom is sitting here in the chat and crying, I think. But he knows that I want the avionics bay at some point. Moreover, as you know, probably the 777 has all the circuit breakers working. And when I say working, it means you can trip them. They have they have voltage on them. They have, they can pop. There are situations where you can reset them. So it's the full thing. Now, the circuit breakers that you see in the cockpit are about 1/10 of the circuit breakers that are actually in the plane. The rest are under the in the avionics bay and so in the Ames cabinets. I want those. At some point, I want those modeled and working. Oh, he's writing that he's on vacation listening. Okay. It doesn't mean he can't cry. What? Okay. Yeah. In the crew rest compartment for the pilots behind the cockpit, there it's there. The crew rest compartment is there, but it's not behind the cockpit in this one. It's the door 4,
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
further back.
It's on the back. Yeah, there are a couple of variants for this thing. It's there. You can go there. You can sit there, and you can call them, and they will make fun of you. When will the new keys be published? What does that mean? You mean a new batch? I don't know. We do like a batch a week now.
There was one yesterday, right?
Based, yeah, there was one like 24 hours or something. The store kind of manages that. I mean, at this stage, we don't really need more testers. The plane is pretty well. I mean, it works pretty well now. What we need is, to complete the must-have features. Disable collision with the cockpit camera. Yeah, I can do that. Why do you want it?
To get your wing views. I've seen this on the forum too. Well,
To
when you
to get
get
what?
close to
What?
the win
To get?
when you get close to the window, you hit like a visible wall before you can
Yeah,
really create
you.
a view.
So what? Oh, okay. They want to stick inside cameras outside. Um,
Yeah.
but that might screw up stuff. So, okay, the way it works is in X-Plane, you have like, Austin tells me when I'm inside and outside, but he tells me wrong. So if I take an inside camera, go outside, uh, everything will be screwed up. Now, I do my own calculation of the fuselage, and I know when I'm inside and outside. So I guess that should work. Yeah, I mean, probably we can do it. If
I've seen
Yeah, I mean,
it was accepted on the forum, so I think somebody's looking at it.
can you add a GoPro on the windshield as an Easter egg? Yeah, I can. Um, I don't know how much about this. I don't know much about 777, but does it simulate bird strike? Yes, it does. Bird strike is one of the failures available in the training section. The only thing is, it's pretty brutal. Like it looks realistic. But yes, we have it. Can we have the option to hide the FF jetway stairs during passenger loading? So why do you want it? Do you want to use a third-party plugin for those things, or do you just want people to load by magic? Okay, so uh, we are
Yeah,
working
they
with a couple.
usually go
Yeah,
ahead.
I see.
Yeah.
So we are working with a couple of guys who have three third-party plugins for this, and we are hooking their stuff instead of ours. So you will be able to kind of say, okay, I want to use jar, whatever it's called, and then you call their GPU and it appears instead of ours. So it won't be 100% nice because the wires won't go incorrectly and so forth. But you will be able to use theirs instead of ours. Uh, gate power. Gate power. That's a good idea. I didn't think about it. Gate power.
Something
Yeah, we
to
can
add
do
to the
that.
list of suggestions.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, if you, by the way, Turtle, I won't remember all of it, but that's a good idea. Like an option for gate power. Like we have an option for gates versus stairs, gate power versus GPUs. I mean, those are just wires that come from the gate to the plane, sure. Uh, Paint kit will be released with the release. Okay. Is there any ETA on VNAV? Oh, God.
Not again.
Yeah, yeah. As soon as it's ready. I'm squeezing all the juices out of Dennis as I can. That's not an English proverb, but you can guess what it means. Will we be able to board L2 instead of L1, and as well as on board? I don't know. Again, these are features like make more chairs. Probably, I'm kind of afraid to clutter the thing with options that don't really do anything, but yeah, you can probably board with L2 instead of L1. No chance of buying it. No, there's a chance of buying it if you are part of the whatever club. Don't ask me, I'm not managing the club. If you really want it and you are not eligible, write me an email. I'll send it to the store and they will add you. So it's not a hard wall, it's just a club. And but if somebody wants in, they can get in. It's not a. Um, will there be an update to get higher resolution of PFD and FD 757? It's a good question. I don't know. That will kind of depend on the manpower we have to make the next versions. Um, so if the next versions are not coming really soon, I guess we'll probably want to do that. So yeah, I'll think about it. That's probably a good idea. Can we have okay? I read that. Um, well, right. Maybe I have taken enough of your time. Mark user warning section says real brain. Deeply flying characteristics handling on the ground breaking resolution approach. Okay, what's the question? What does this mean and how does this relate to Mach warning?
Oh,
Uh,
I understand.
ask the store. I don't know.
Yeah, the store it's labeled wrong. I think so.
um,
Section.
yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with it. Write
Yeah,
okay, Curtis, please write an email to the store because again I'll forget.
yeah, I'll do it.
Just tell them Elliot is probably can fix it. Anything as far as loading? Yes, I've discussed the performance calculator. I basically we need to fix two bugs, and I need to do the landing thing. And the landing thing is mostly tables. At this stage, I don't plan to make a landing performance actual calculation. So for the takeoff, I did the actual calculations, which took like I don't know 2 weeks of just calculating because it depends on a million parameters. Um, so the landing calculator, I mean, it's easy to do the landing calculator if everything is fine. If you don't have a um, if you don't have any issues, if it's normal landing. But then there are about 30 different performance tables for flaps inoperative, flaps 20, whatever, all of that stuff. So we need to get all these tables in and then test them and see if they actually need corrections. Um, could we get a landing takeoff calculator for 757? Oh God. To be honest, I don't think so.
Probably more something for next generation.
Yeah, and there is a reason. The thing is, because the engine model in the 777 is ours, we could do the calculation for the thrust. So, I mean, the whole thing with takeoff performance is calculating the assumed temperature, which basically means calculating the minimum needed thrust for this runway, for this day, for this weight to take off from with the needed margins for commercial operation, basically. And that means knowing the thrust. And in this model, we calculate the thrust. When we are not doing the thrust, that would mean using tables, and they wouldn't be precise enough because the 5767 flight models are tuned for um, cruise flight, fuel flow, takeoff speeds, brake distances, climb times, fuels, and distances, descent times, fuels, and distances. Those, I think, are all the tests that I do on the 5767. Team Brief has a good calculator for 757. Yeah, but the question is our model precise enough? I'm not sure. I've tuned the braking, but the takeoff, I'm not sure. And the thing with the takeoff calculation is if you put in all the data, and you get the specific runway, I want you to be able to take off from the correct distance because it makes no sense to have a calculator which calculates something which is not there. Will there be an optimized CG in the A350? I'm not sure. Probably, yeah. Do you like this optimized CG? Again, people are making fun of me.
I think a
Will
lot of
there
you
be an
use it.
yeah? Will there be an LL livery for 777-200? Don't we have it? Curtis, can you tell? We have like 100 libraries. I think we have LL.
What was the exact
I
question?
mean, whether we have an LL livery for the 777.
I think in one of the livery packs.
Yeah, there should be. It should be there. I think it's in. I don't remember. It's either like we have. I don't remember the names.
Yeah, I think there
It's
was in
Middle East or something. There should be one. Yeah. I mean, they have the real airplane, so.
yeah.
Um, yeah. I didn't see the question, but I can actually comment on the CG stuff. So, X-Plane 12. On one hand, it moved to a real CG calculation. The problem is they only allow 9 points of weight. And for the 777, I think I am using 900 points of weight. So I have to kind of explain to Austin where to put the weight. So it's not easy, and we are still kind of struggling with the thing. Um, but there were a lot of questions with the sim brief because sim brief tells you, okay, you have this much passengers. But when you use sim brief download into the airplane, it kind of breaks the number of passengers because SimBrief doesn't know all the data about the plane, especially with the changing seats and all that stuff. Sometimes, in theory, SimBrief can request more asses than seats. So we kind of have to play around with it. But if you look at it carefully, what we do is if we can't really be precise enough with SimBrief, we write it in the load sheet as last minute changes, which is kind of realistic. Military version of the 767. What do you want, a tanker?
I think it's only the tanker,
Uh,
right?
oh, yeah, they want a tanker. Yeah, not in this generation. I mean, that would be so much work. I mean, we would have to find somebody who can actually take pictures of the interior, so we have the stations on the back.
I don't think
Because
you
again, we are
can
not.
get pictures interior. That it's not
No,
gonna
I
be
mean,
easy.
it's not that secret. I mean, it's an existing airplane. The thing is, we have moved to a point where we have to be precise and we have to kind of keep the same level of stuff. So now, if we want to do that, we have to have all these things in the back, and I don't know how much effort that will be. Will the F320 V2 from FF and Tulis be considered a Tulis product or FlightFactor product? That will be a FlightFactor
Always.
product.
Oh, okay.
The difference is who does the support, basically.
Sure.
Go around Lodge 757 has a bug. Yes, this is for Dennis. Will that be fixed one day? If it's reported, it's somewhere. So
Send
I
me
wish
your
we could.
number. I can take a look at it. What's going on?
Yeah, stick it to Dennis. I mean, he's not allowed. At the moment, no one is allowed to work on anything which is non-related to public release of the 777. We have to like finish it. It's really important. I know. I mean, I promised it a year ago, and I'm happy with the result. I mean, the plane is actually better than I thought it would be. But yeah, we need to get it to people who want it. So, all right, guys. So if you don't have anything generally else, I think kind of it.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
I think we've answered a lot.
yeah. Thank you, guys.
We'll make this
Yeah, we'll.
question for the non-essential list.
Yeah, do that. I mean, I don't mind adding this stuff. I mean, again, people were like, Dennis was making fun of me and saying, "Oh, you're spending time on crap." But yeah, that's a kind of character of the plane. I also plan to work on more training scenarios. I guess I have to go for my recurrent at some point, and I'll see
Yeah,
what was there that I haven't. Because I keep myself I keep myself my type rating. I keep it current, which is weird, but I go for the sim sessions so we can after each I kind of add some stuff for the training.
yeah, that will be cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
It's a good question. Will we have a recording of the Q&A session?
Yes.
Good. All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming. Hopefully the next one will be after the public release.
the recording, I'll most likely go on YouTube, I think. So if you guys
Yeah.
missed it or came late, then you can. I'll post a link in Discord when we've uploaded it. All right, guys. Thank you
All
for your
right.
questions. Thank you,
All right.
Ramsik,
Thank
for
you.
answering.
Sure. Thank you. All right. And I'll go find my dinner. All right. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.